In 2016, in the Amboseli National Park in Kenya, researchers observed something that stopped them cold. A mother elephant's calf had died, and for days, she wouldn't leave. She nudged the body with her trunk. She stood over it in the heat. She returned to it again and again, long after any practical reason to do so had passed. The other elephants in her herd came too. They touched the calf with their trunks. They stood in silence. No scientist in that field, not one, called what they were witnessing a simple instinct. They called it grief. But here's the question that makes this so much more than a sad story. Is it really grief, the way we feel it? Or is it something else entirely? Something we don't yet have a word for? Today on What Animals Think, we're going deep into one of the most emotionally charged questions in all of animal science. Do animals feel grief? And if they do, what does that mean for how we understand them and ourselves?
Before we look at the animals, we need to understand what grief actually is at a neurological level. Grief isn't just sadness. It's a specific combination of things happening in the brain simultaneously. You need memory, the ability to remember a specific individual, not just a category of thing. You need attachment, an emotional bond that formed over time, one that generated something like love or dependency. And you need awareness of absence, the capacity to understand that something that was present is now gone, permanently. For a long time, scientists assumed these three things were uniquely human, that only we had the neural architecture for all three at once. Then they started looking more carefully at elephants, and whales, and corvids, and primates, and they realized they had been looking the wrong direction entirely. The architecture for grief was already out there. It had been there for millions of years.
Elephants have the most extensively documented grief behavior of any non-human animal. And what researchers have recorded over decades in the field is extraordinary. When an elephant dies, the herd gathers. They touch the body with their trunks, the most sensitive, information-rich part of their anatomy. They stand in silence, sometimes for hours. They return, not just once. Elephant herds have been observed revisiting the site of a death days, weeks, even months later. They touch the bones. They hold them. There are documented cases of elephants carrying the bones of their dead, particularly the skulls and tusks, sometimes for miles. Researcher Cynthia Moss, who spent decades studying elephants in Amboseli, watched a family discover the bones of their matriarch. They spent an hour investigating them with their trunks, smelling, touching, turning them over. Other elephant families passed the same bones with indifference. This family could not leave. They recognized her in her remains long after she was gone. Elephants also show physiological changes consistent with grief. Reduced eating, social withdrawal, what researchers describe as a kind of depression that can last for weeks. Young elephants who lose their mothers show the most profound responses. Studies have found that motherless elephants have significantly higher stress hormone levels that persist for years and shorter lifespans on average. They don't just feel the loss in the moment, they carry it, just like we do.
In the ocean, grief takes a different form, but it is no less real. In 2018, a female killer whale, Orca, off the Pacific Northwest, captured the world's attention when her newborn calf died shortly after birth. For 17 days, she carried the calf's body, pushing it through the water and diving repeatedly to retrieve it whenever it sank, refusing to let go. Researchers from the Center for Whale Research observed that other members of her pod stayed close and even took turns helping her carry the body, offering what appeared to be support. On the 17th day, she finally released the calf, but by then she was visibly thinner and had eaten very little. Her behavior was not a simple instinct gone wrong. It reflected memory,
attachment, and a clear awareness that something precious had been lost. Nor is she unique. Sperm whales have been seen forming what scientists call an egg beater formation around dead calves, clustering tightly in a protective circle for hours. Humpback whales have also been observed escorting the bodies of other humpbacks through the water, slowing their pace to remain beside them. Across the oceans, among the largest brained creatures on Earth, mourning exists in the deepest waters. We simply never thought to look for it.
Now, a skeptic would say, how do we know any of this is grief? How do we know we are not simply projecting our own emotions onto animal behavior, seeing what we want to see because we are desperate to believe that we are not alone in our emotional universe? It is a fair challenge, and scientists take it seriously. The honest answer is that we cannot ask an elephant how she feels, and we do not have direct access to her inner experience. But what we do have is powerful evidence. We have brain structure. Elephants, whales, and primates all possess a type of neuron called spindle neurons, also known as von Economo neurons, which in humans are associated with social awareness, empathy, and the processing of complex emotions, including grief. Elephants have 3 times more of these neurons than humans. We have behavior that serves no immediate survival function, carrying bones for miles, holding a dead calf for 17 days, standing in silence at a gravesite. None of this helps the living animal survive, and it offers no direct evolutionary utility in the immediate sense. And we have duration. Grief in humans is defined by its persistence. We do not simply feel loss in a single moment, we carry it with us. In the same way, the physiological changes seen in grieving elephants and orca mothers persist over weeks and months. The question is not whether animals feel something profound when they lose someone. The evidence says they do. The only question is whether we are willing to use the same word for it. And it doesn't stop at elephants and whales. Chimpanzees have been observed sitting in prolonged stillness beside dead companions, sometimes grooming the body as if trying to wake them. Chimpanzee behavior has been documented extensively by Jane Goodall, including cases where young chimps, after losing their mothers, stopped eating and eventually died, what researchers described as dying of grief. Crows have what are called crow funerals. When a crow dies, other crows gather. They do not touch the body, but stand around it in silence. Researchers now believe this serves a learning function, investigating the cause of death, but the behavior still appears strikingly like mourning. Dolphin, like orca mothers, have been observed supporting the bodies of their dead at the surface, pushing them and circling. Even domestic dogs show measurable behavioral changes after losing a companion: reduced play, reduced appetite, increased vocalization, and what veterinary behaviorists describe as a clear depressive state. Grief, or something functionally identical to it, is not a human invention. It is ancient. It evolved long before we did. We inherited it from the same place they did.
Here's the part that sits with me long after the research is put away. If elephants grieve, if orca mothers mourn, if crows hold funerals and chimpanzees die of heartbreak, then the emotional distance we've always assumed between us and the rest of the animal kingdom is not as vast as we've been told. This has real consequences. It means that animals in captivity who lose companions are not simply losing a behavioral partner. They are experiencing loss in a way that has psychological weight and duration. It means that animals separated from their families, in factory farms, in the wild, through habitat destruction, through ivory poaching, are not just losing a group member. They may be experiencing something we recognize, something we name. The science of animal grief isn't just fascinating, it's an argument for how we treat the creatures who share this planet with us. Because if they can lose someone the way we can, then someone to them is what it is to us. They love, and therefore they can lose, and that changes everything.
Do animals feel grief? The honest, science-backed answer is yes. Not in an identical way to ours. Their inner experience of it is something we can never fully know. But the neurological hardware is there. The behavior is there. The duration is there. The social response to loss, the gathering, the presence, the return is there. We are not the only creatures who love deeply enough to mourn what we've lost. And somehow, I find that more comforting than isolating. We are not alone in our grief. We share it with the largest animals on land, and the largest animals in the sea, and the birds that gather in silence above a fallen companion. That is not a small thing. If this video stayed with you, if it made you think differently about the animals you share this world with, leave a comment. Tell me which story hit hardest. The mother elephant who wouldn't leave, the orca who carried her calf for 17 days. I read every single one. Subscribe to What Animals Think, because next week, we're asking something that has puzzled researchers for decades. Do animals have a sense of fairness? And what happens when they feel they've been treated unjustly? The experiment that answers this question, you won't forget it. See you there.